this video we're gonna see amazing facts about the unalive of our beloved Rasputin, Gregory Rasputin. It is true that it was a cult leader, partially true. It is true that it was by a man dressed as a woman, partially true. It is true he was attacked in one house and then attacked outside and then attacked in another moment and then that is not true. It is true that he escaped to Argentina. It is true that he's still alive. So we're gonna see all the stuff and we're going to try to understand why this beautiful and sexy countryman was unalive by one of the most influential guys in the aristocracy of Russia. So, as always, we're gonna start for the beginning. We need to start for the beginning of our beautiful cult leader, Rasputin. Well, we need to start for the spelling of the name. The spelling of the name wasn't Rasputin because that comes from the French translation. You're gonna see that France in here, it has a bunch of influence. It wasn't Rasputin, it was Rasputin in the Russia way. But we're gonna say Rasputin because it's much more free. He was born in 1979 and that's it. Because we have a really big problem because Russians in that time they used to have the Julian calendar and it's really hard to match with the Gregorian calendar. It's a difference of 13 days, but I don't know. Well, let's see how we're going to manage the dates. He was something like a countryside man. He didn't know how to write. He didn't know how to right. He used to be something like a cult leader. It's something that we know today as cult leaders behave because he started small cults. He was healing people, praying, and when he came into the main place in Russia, I think it's St. Petersburg, he started to make a small cult, something super humble. So you need to understand it was a small company because sometimes people say, oh my God, this Mark Zuckerberg, for example, this guy, he started a small and humble business. Well, maybe not so humble. And he started to make healings and stuff. And in that time, Russia wasn't the best of the countries because 90% of the people weren't able to write or read. It was super common that the people, they don't have access to healthcare systems. That's when appeared this kind of people that they say, well, I'm going to touch you with my feelings and my stuff. Well, there's something else. He started to predict that during, how can I say it in this nice, beautiful YouTube words. We need to make a small parenthesis in here. When dad and mom loves each other, they like to make something, okay? This something, we're gonna say that is the tiki-tiki, okay? With the tiki-tiki, we're going to understand that is something that people makes for love or for money. He started to preach about the idea of you can heal people, tiki-tiki them. So he predict all this stuff about tiki-tiki can heal yourself. You can tiki-tiki with yourself also. This guy was not only influential inside the poor people, he was also influential in really high levels of aristocracy or whatever. He was presented by, give me a sec, Anna Viruova. Anna Viruova was a close friend to the Tsarina Alexandra. Alexandra was the wife of the Tsar Nikolai, that was the Tsar Nikolai. You know a little bit about the history of Russia. He was something like a king. In that time, Tsar, well, it means kings, okay, fine. So we have tiki-tiki on one side and then we have the Tsar in one side. So that couple, they weren't in a really nice situation when this guy appeared around it. They had the prince of this couple, Alexei. He was super sick. He was suffering hemophilia. Hemophilia in that time was a disease that was impossible to treat. Actually, it was an unalive sentence. The heritage of the throne wasn't a really big issue in that moment. And the couple wasn't in the best situation because there was a war with Germany and Alexandra was for Germany. She was German, I guess, or Dutch, or Deutsch, German. And then appeared our beloved and sexy Rasputin. Rasputin was presented by Anna to Alexandra. He was presented something like a guy that can heal people. So he started to treat Alexei and magically Alexei started to feel a little bit more better. So the idea of this guy can heal this kind of diseases that were impossible to treat in that time was something like a condition. He started to be super influential inside the king, inside the Tsars. He was super dangerous because everybody hated that guy because he wasn't really like aristocracy. Well, you know how aristocracy works. They're super fine, they're super stylish, they have a super Instagram account with a bunch of followers, and this guy was something. He liked to drink, he likes women. Everybody loves women. Well, some people, they don't like women, well, who cares? But he liked a bunch of women, but a bunch of, and not the kind of nice women. The kind of women that he likes, well, he started to be super influential in this marriage. Some people say that he was the lover of Alexandra, but I guess he wasn't the lover. He was something like a really big guy, super influential. He started to manipulate to this couple, and he started to isolate to other aristocracy people. The aristocracy didn't like too much Rasputin, or Rasputin, how you're going to say it. We need to talk about the night of the fads. Rasputin was cordially invited to the house of Felix Yusupov. Give me a sec. Felix Yusupov. Yes, Felix Yusupov. Felix Yusupov was a super aristocracy guy, super rich, with a really nice house, but he had something that was super special. He liked to dress as a woman. He loved to do that. Even in aristocracy reunions, he appears dressed as a woman. I can imagine his wife saying, "Oh my God, Felix, not again." Yes, he liked to dress as a woman. He liked to play women characters in some theaters, but inside the intimacy of the aristocracy of that time, they accepted. Actually, he had some tiki-tiki with some lovers, men lovers. This guy also was deeply in love with Rasputin, but I think it was something like a love-hate relation, because Felix Yusupov was the one that unalived Rasputin. We can understand the context. Rasputin was a super influential guy, something like a cult leader. Actually, he had a bunch of minions or something. We have this marriage super in a bad moment, in the middle of a war with Germany, losing the support of the aristocracy, with a son that was sick, so they were super fragile. And then this guy appeared, started to say, "No, you need to do this, you need to do that, let me talk with this one." He was super kind with a couple, and he started to say, "Be careful with that guy, be careful with that other guy, this is not good, this is a crypto, bro." And the aristocracy didn't like this kind of support that they were receiving from Rasputin, because Rasputin, he was an alcoholic, dirty one. I'm a little bit dirty, but I'm not a cult leader. Or maybe yes. In this moment, the Bolshevik revolution is not existent. It's just a fantasy. It didn't happen. But the Bolshevik, they were working like 20 years preparing for this kind of stuff. They started to gathering people, money, weapons, friends. Even some people on the military side, they were gathering with the Bolshevik people. So they started to build a really big and powerful infrastructure under the nothing, because they were super hidden. Because in that time, imagine the idea of a king with the people planning a revolution. It was a really nice idea. I think it's something that you need to cover completely. This story was told by Felix Yusupov. The trans Yusupov. He was in love. Some people say that he was in love or attracted by Rasputin, but also he was part of the aristocracy that want to unalive him. He invited to Rasputin to go to his house and have a really nice dinner with cakes and whatever. So in that time, they poisoned some of the cakes, and the idea was to poison him. But Rasputin saying by the guy who unalived him, "Be careful." They started to eat like crazy, but he didn't die. He keeps eating with the idea of Felix. I think it was a really nice planner, because he had a bunch of big plans in case that he had any trouble or any. Finished the night. "Well, thank you. That was so nice and pretty. Thank you. See you around." He started to get out, and Felix shoot him. And then some people, they say some revolutionary people, they attack him. They stab him with a knife, and he keeps running and running and running. And in the middle, Felix Yusupov keep shooting him. He fell down the river, the Neva River. Then he died drowned. That's a story that Felix Yusupov told in some of his books, because after the unalive of Rasputin, he ran away to Paris, okay? And that's where he told all this history of this immortal Rasputin. The body was found like 2 days after. Remember, it was something like December. Everything was frozen. And they say that he was found with no poisoning, with no stabbing, covered with a blanket. So this is amazing way of dying, because he said, well, you know what? I'm gonna jump into the river with a blanket put it because it's really cold, because it's December. The autopsy, it says something super different. He wasn't starved. He was eating when he died. They didn't find any trace of poison, but you need to remember that the autopsies from the 1910s, 1920s, actually it was 1916s, wasn't really accurate. Maybe they tried to poisoning him, but the amount of poison, knowing that he was eating a lot, poison is something like drinking. If it's mixed up with a bunch of food, it won't make any effect. Maybe the poison was out of date. Maybe the poison wasn't really nice. There is a bunch of explanation that explains that maybe the poison wasn't the way. Some people say this other story that I think is the real one. They gather each other in the house of Felix Yusupov, they have a dinner, and then they have a fight, and outside they shoot him. And that's it. And they throw the body into the river. And now we're going to the last question. Did Rasputin escape to Argentina? Why everybody escapes to Argentina? No. He wasn't able to escape to Argentina because obviously he was completely and absolutely dead. Put in the comments why everybody wants to run away to Argentina. Put in the comments, like, subscribe, do all the things that YouTubers like to do, and find it out.